Cyrec2224, that ain't
No,
you.
that's not me.
I know you're in my
There,
subscriptions.
yep, I think
There
we
you
are good
are.
now. There we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Uh, we are going to be discussing a video from. He goes by Sigma Starscream now, by the way. Anybody that knows that
Yeah.
man, he's been known as Rusty Cheese Knife, What the Egad, and now Sigma Starscream.
Yeah,
He,
he likes to change his username for some reason.
yeah, but he did a review of Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which I believe is Game of the Year. It is a fantastic story. It is a fantastic soundtrack. It has fantastic visuals. Combat, everything about it is just great. It reminds me of Final Fantasy VIII, really. Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy X. Um,
The audio's coming in real quiet on your end on the stream.
it is here. Let me see if I
Yeah.
can. Let me see if I can bump it up. Is that
Yeah,
better?
the Discord, let me check that. Discord sounded fine. It was
On the
your
stream,
audio
it's
that was,
slow.
yeah, on the stream it was real low.
How about now?
So I'm going to check.
Because I bumped it up now, and I need to see if it is actually loud now. Oh, that peaked.
That should be good there. That should be good there. Yeah, you should be. It's good now.
Okay, good, good. Ooh, that was a little bit too high. All right. So he's changed his name a lot. I don't even know what to really say about the dude. He's strange.
He's still out there.
And
I
I think,
don't want to be disparaging because that's not constructive.
yeah, it's just we've had personal interactions with this guy, and um, he's gone after people that don't deserve to be gone after, like the Almighty Lolly or Kirsha, just because
Yeah,
of perceived error on their part.
I don't know what his drama with either one of those are. Kirsch is a rather large channel, so I doubt he was even a blip on her radar, but
Yeah,
it's still strange. It's still a strange thing to do. Because it
it
doesn't really matter how big you are, if just the wrong person notices it, it can ruin a person. Like what weirdos on Reddit tried to do with anal violence, as she calls them.
yeah, but we will be getting into the video here, and it should not take the two of us very long to get through everything. Because you've watched a bit of it, I've watched a bit of it. I don't know if y'all finished it or
Yeah,
not.
I believe we did finish it. It's not a good video.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I only got I, a few minutes in, but we will definitely see what his arguments are for Expedition 33. Is it being dumb? Oh wait, hold on. There's no audio on my side. I forgot. It was acting up earlier, so I muted it because it just kept on repeating.
Yeah. Something to point out here, his mic peaks out constantly throughout this video, so we're not tampering with the stream audio, the video audio. That's just what he sounds like in this video.
Yeah, And I think that's
I
with
don't know if his
most of his
I don't
videos.
yeah, I don't know if his mic is too close or if he has the gain up too loud, but that's something you need to, if you're watching this, Rusty, Sigma, whatever you call yourself these days, adjust your volume accordingly.
Yes, please. All right, let us go. Play.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33, the newest in turn-based RPGs. Many of the absolutely clueless who don't know a thing about video games, much less the English language, have been calling this game a JRPG, regardless of the fact that this game was not made in Japan. It was made in France. It was inspired by JRPGs. So just call it what it is, guys. This is not difficult to do. Others still want to say that this game is some kind of exceptional piece of work, and it's doing something no other game has ever done before. That would also be wrong. The game is far from exceptional, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the game is bad either. It is a very
What are you even trying to say here? It's far from exceptional, but it's not bad.
Yeah, he's trying to
You're
say it's a middling game.
You contradicted yourself here.
Yeah,
And yeah,
so
there absolutely are people who are overselling the game. I'm not gonna lie. I'm
I
probably guilty of that myself, but
probably
I personally love the game.
yeah, it is a fantastic game. It's got its flaws, sure, but it it is a it feels like a breath of fresh air, really. Um, Also the semantics of what is and what is not a JRPG, I don't care if people call this a JRPG or an RPG or what have you. It it is inspired by JRPGs, yes, but it feels like a JRPG, so I'm just going to continue to call it a JRPG.
I mean,
It
my friend Threadnought would say it is a JRPG because that's the style of game that it is.
Yeah, JRPG is a genre. It doesn't. You can have a JRPG that is not from Japan. People that claim that only RPGs from Japan can be called a JRPG, that
That's
isn't.
just that's just pedantic.
Yeah, it's being pedantic, and it's not seeing that yes, they're using the elements of a JRPG, thus it falls into the genre of a JRPG. So again, semantics, but I don't see how it can be exceptional but not quality or but not bad. Like I get he's trying to say it's a middling game, but if he's going to say it's a middling game, just say it's a middling game.
Just say it. Don't beat around the bush.
All right, continue.
Yes.
very good game. The game takes place in a supposed dark fantasy setting, although the only dark aspect here is the brown gradient they have used to cover everything in order to create this old-style film sepia effect. If your idea of dark atmosphere
Yeah,
is
that
muddy sepia tones, then congratulations. Yeah, this is peak aesthetic. As for the story,
Okay.
it's called setting the tone. It's a dark story about every year there's a gourmage where everyone of that age and over snaps out of existence. It's dark, it's depressing, it's dramatic. So
Yes.
having bright, flashy, pretty colors would not match that tone.
Now there are later in the game beautiful landscapes, beautiful like set pieces that are
One
very
such area,
vibrant.
yeah, one such area, an example is the Sunless Cliffs, where there's an eternal eclipse in the sky.
Yep. Uh, but to be a dark fantasy, all it really needs is to be lacking in hope. Like these people out there are at the last bits of hope. They are falling further and further into despair.
They're
So,
at the ripe old age of 32.
yes. So, you can see how they're losing hope. You can see that this world that they live in is crushing them to the point where it's said in game that this is the largest expedition in years. because people are just tired and don't want to continue to lose people and would rather stay back in Lumiere and live out the last year of their life with their family and friends than go off on a suicide mission to try and defeat the Paintress. But no, it can't be dark fantasy because it's not totally dark all the time.
There are moments of levity. There are moments that are just cheerful and jovial, like in the Gestural Village or at the various Gestural beaches, or even what was it, the Dark Gestural Arena that's up in the sky?
Dark Gestural Arenas, or no, the Gestural Arenas around the map, the beaches. There's even Minoko and Verso's
Minoka's
relationship.
great.
Also Eskia.
Like there are more lighthearted moments of levity that just are able to lighten the tone a bit.
But you still feel that crushing weight of,
That
can this be done?
like that dread that's constantly over you. I mean,
Yeah,
because as you explore the areas, you find the failed expeditions, you find their journals, you find their remains.
exactly. And not only do you find that, but you find uh, just how far they've gotten. And there's also the whole part outside of all this that, oh, there's more to the story than what we're getting just from what we see from the character's perspective. There's a whole lot more that comes up near the end of Act 2, Act 3.
Even during Act 1, like you can find, such as the conversations between Alicia and the white-haired man whose name will be revealed shortly.
Yes. And you
And
can
of
even
course, the
find,
journal, of course, the journal entries inside the manor.
yep, that you find throughout playing the game and finding the doors. But yeah, no, it's totally not a dark fantasy, even though one of the greatest dark fantasies of all time has moments of levity, has jokes, has uh, very well crafted romance. But no, can't be a dark fantasy because it doesn't breathe that depressing state at all times.
It doesn't have to be doom and gloom all the time.
Yep. All right,
Give
let's keep
people a
going.
chance to just give people a chance to breathe.
Story of the game, well, every year for the past 67 years, the people of the island of Lumiere have been hit with something called the gommage. What happens is this cosmic being called the Paintress strolls up to a large rock and paints a number on it. And then everyone older than that number vanishes into thin air. That's it, one magic number and poof, everyone 34 years or older gets Thanos snapped out of existence. So in response, the people of Lumiere have to send a handful of volunteers each year on an expedition to go stop the Paintress from doing this again. Expedition 33 is just the latest batch. So you start the game playing as Gustav, a 32-year-old engineer whose girlfriend just got gommaged in the last round. And so with a single year left to live before it's his turn, he signs up for the mission. A number of others join him, including Maëlle, his foster sister, who is a fencer, Lune, a mage, and Skiel, a warrior. The tutorial portion of the game, its introduction, begins with a party. It is somber, yes, but not absolutely so. Given the large loss of life, there's a bit of tonal whiplash here, since one would expect a greater sense of urgency or despair. But the way I see it, the game prizes style over common sense, and this will not be the final instance of it. But yes, you do start to wonder why, after decades of this going on, why haven't entire armies been sent out to the mainland, or any better plan than just send out a handful of people to die each year. But I don't think the player was ever expected to go looking for answers like that. Ultimately, the story is not interested in logic. Everything about it is whimsical, vague, and symbolic.
Okay.
Okay, they've tried to send armies out. Expedition Zero was a massive army.
And 99.
Also, his complaining about this party and this tonal whiplash, it's called a wake. After a funeral, the friends and family gather to have a big meal, a little party, and celebrate the lives and the memories of the people they've lost. That's what's happening here.
Not only that, but they're celebrating the life of those that they've lost. They're celebrating the memories of those people.
That's
I
essentially what's happening here.
I don't see how
I
this
mean,
is a tonal
Rusty,
whiplash. This is
Rusty, you're old enough to understand what people do after a funeral. You've surely been to a few in your life. I don't understand why this is what's confusing to you.
yeah. So not only that, but to say that they're in no rush, they have an entire year, and it's going to take them what until nightfall the next day. So roughly 16 hours to get to the landing point.
Also, he's just going to keep mispronouncing CL's name. I don't know if he's doing that intentional to farm engagement or if he genuinely never paid attention to how they pronounced her name.
Also, the vagueness of the story. Yeah, it's vague in the first act and prologue,
It's
but
supposed to be. It's called building tension.
as you get in, like, the end of Act 2 reveals so much.
And throughout Act 1, you actually get to see the pieces of it build up.
Yep. Um, hello, Pip Pip. But yeah, you can't say that everything is vague because you are just in the beginning. You know just as much as Gustav, Ciel, Lune, Mael. That you know just as much as they do about this world. But the part of storytelling is eventually you learn more and you learn that not everything is exactly as it is or is presented to you as. There is more to this world than meets the eye. And that's in every good story about a fantasy, sci fi, like just stories in general. There's always more than what the character you are following knows. But no, it's vague, it's symbolic. Even though the symbolism is there, not as deeply as he wants to make it out to be, but yes, there is symbolism and there's philosophy presented all the time.
I mean,
But
there's
again,
philosophy presented with the axons, such as the first one, he who guards truth with lies, or was it secrets?
truth.
No, like he who guards truth with, I forget if it was lies or secrets.
I think it's lies.
I believe so. And it represents that character in particular. All of the axons represent the white haired man's children.
Yep.
Things you, and you don't even put two and two together until you get to the third act where it's like, oh, that's what they meant. There are layers of foreshadowing spread throughout the game's narrative if you just pay attention to the story.
Exactly. You just it's presented to you by the end of the game.
And it's hinted, like I'm going to spoil that
I mean, this is already
axon
gonna
fight
have
again.
spoilers.
After you defeat it, Verso kneels over looking at the body. That was Verso, wasn't it? That's your first, that's a clue that not everything is as it seems.
Mm-hmm. And then you get to the oh god, what axon is it? It's the one that you have to climb up constantly.
Um, the Reacher,
Yeah, and that's Mael
she who I believe it's she
or
who soars
Alicia.
above the, yeah, she who soars above or something like that. It does represent Alicia and Renoir's desire for his favorite daughter.
Yep, because Renoir just wants to see her soar.
And then there's she who plays with wonder, which represents Clea and her ability to manipulate, and her gift as a songstress.
You mean Clea?
Clea. I thought it was Clea.
French names are weird sometimes.
They are indeed.
All right, let us continue.
You're not meant to ask those questions. You're meant to feel the vibes. Now, the game's story is supposed to be set during the Belle Epoque, a specific period in French history from 1871 to just before World War I. So it's a late 19th century European setting. But as you soon find out, many of the people
Early
at this
20th.
party do not fit the time or place. Instead, we get a diverse mix of characters that allude to some kind of a French melting pot that never happened. Obviously, this is the writers shoehorning a bunch of melanated individuals amidst the French population, all for the sake of political
Jesus
correctness,
Christ.
no doubt. It's a clear
Yeah.
case of forced representation
We'll-
and
we'll
a clear
get to it.
distraction from the appropriated setting. There's no natural reasoning for such a
Appropriated.
diverse cast in a period
I just want him to
where it
finish
would be
his thought.
historically incongruous.
Okay.
But what's funny is many of these characters won't last very long. They're introduced with all the fanfare of importance, but they're killed off almost immediately once the plot moves forward. When the expedition makes it to the mainland, they all get ambushed by an old white-haired man and an army of monsters, and there the team is decimated within minutes. So in what other way can we look at this other than an indicator that all of this forced diversity didn't even exist to service the story, as much as modern progressives often like to tell us? Instead, these were just token characters whose sole existence met an ideological demand, only to be discarded almost immediately. That all being said, as woke as this is, the developers were not obliged to make the female characters in this game aggressively unattractive. It is
Okay,
still a woke move to include Lune, so
we'll pause here.
What the fuck?
We'll pause here. We'll address the Belle Epoque and all that.
First of all, it takes place in the early 20th century because it takes place after the death of the real Versa, which was in the early 1900s.
Yes. However,
Second,
it's all
go ahead.
fantasy. It's all a fantasy world. Even the real world that they're from, because this game takes place inside of a painted world, and our world doesn't have the writers that they do in their world, which can bring stories to life, or the painters that can bring paintings to life. No.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, we don't mean that in like a meta sense of it's a game, it doesn't matter. No, it literally takes place inside of an abstract surrealist painting.
Yes, and the painters and the writers have conflict in the real world.
Yes. And presumably, if Clair Obscur is to become a whole franchise, we're going to see more of that throughout their games.
I really hope so. That entire storyline piqued my interest. I was like, there's writers that they're at conflict with? What can the writers do?
Presumably the same thing the painters can do. And second of all, it's not forced diversity because in the early 1900s, late 1800s, there was African and Asian migration into France due to their colonies they had across Asia and Africa. And there were even Asian and African conscripts in the French military during World War I.
Yep. Not now. I want to preface this. All of Clair Obscur is a fantasy world. It has no bearing on the real world whatsoever. There is no
Exactly.
history within the real world for this game. What is to be taken into consideration is they are using a aesthetic that they enjoy and want to prop up French history and French art using this aesthetic. So they chose the Belle Epoque period as the main aesthetic for the game. and for Lumiere. It's not set in the Belle Epoque. It uses the look and feel of the Belle Epoque.
Yes, because even if you want to put real world history into this game, it takes place inside of a literal painting. It's just what the original Verso wanted to create. It's just what he felt like painting. So there's still a narrative explanation to it.
Yeah. And I really hope by the end of this I know he's not going to, but I hope he realizes that it's not going to uh, be the real world. It's not, because it doesn't have to be. And also, the whole thing about these people being given a big spotlight, right? You go around and talk to them and learn their relationship with Gustav, because they've all lived together their entire lives. They all know one another.
It's to set the stakes and build up the impact of him watching all his friends and colleagues get butchered on the beach. If they're a bunch of nameless, faceless NPCs getting butchered, it wouldn't have the same impact. So taking time to actually develop some of these people and establish a personality makes their deaths hit harder.
Exactly. And uh, just seeing all these people that Gustav grew up with, that he has memories with, you just see the dread wash over Gustav whenever he sees the first of his friends die. And his immediate reaction is, I need to get Mael out of here. Because
if you pay attention during the cutscene of watching everyone get butchered, you actually see Verso pick up and save Mael.
Yeah, that's a little tidbit that I noticed going through it again.
That becomes relevant later in the story, but there are things you notice in the background, like how did Mael get to the manor? Because Verso took her there. Something you notice in the background on a repeated playthrough or looking back over your footage.
Who's that person following Mael and Verso, or not, person following them after the manor? Because it's presented as the white hair man, but if you look at Verso's clothes, it is Verso that was following them after the manor.
Like he followed from a distance and kept an eye on them.
Yep, because there's a big, and I'm not going to mention this one, but he's probably going to. There's a big conflict that happens between characters because of this, because of what happens to the group, because of Renoir.
I'd also like to point out just how good the voice acting is in this game. It is refreshing to have good English voice acting in a game.
Yes. And also the soundtrack. The soundtrack is amazing.
Composed by a high school music teacher they found on SoundCloud. This is what happens when you hire people with absolute passion for what they're doing. And not just coming in to get a paycheck.
Yes. All right, let us continue.
Solely because she looks Asian and also wouldn't fit the setting, but her face and body are actually pleasant to look at, which for many players will be enough to overlook the diversity.
So Egad, I don't know.
I didn't even notice she was Chinese. I'm gonna be real.
Google search pulled up a
Wikipedia
article for Chinese in France, and in the Belle Epoque era of France, which is where this game is taking inspiration from, it says the opening of the Chinese port in Wenzhou in 1876 saw a small number of merchants from the region arriving in Paris. There was 283 Chinese in France. I'm assuming she's Chinese. To me, that's what makes sense to me.
What did you talk about?
So there was a Chinese population during this period of time, small, but they did exist.
I'm gonna be straight up. You can have one different
race character in a fantasy universe if it's especially explained through lore. I mean, I never really even paid that much attention to the
Oh my
fact that
God.
Luna was Asian. I was more focused on
So-
the fact that half the city was.
I think you've seen what the lead writer for
That's
Expedition
still
33
still
looks
funny
like.
to me that he had to cut what that man said.
Yeah, and this. So there was an explanation to it in actual history. So he's still choosing to complain about it.
Yep.
Also, why are you even including your private conversation with allegedly your friends here?
Uh,
It doesn't seem particularly relevant to
I
a
think
review.
I think I know why he's doing the EFAP thing where Mahler will splice in private conversations that they've all had together whenever rewatching the movies that that Mueller goes over. And
Yeah, that seems rather. I would not be okay if somebody put my private conversation into their video without my knowledge or permission.
usually you know, and I think they know. But at the same time, if they know, why say certain words that have to be cut?
Yeah, and all that does is make me concerned that the conversations we've had with him are either going to end up in his videos or already have. That just seems like a massive violation of privacy, and it shows a lack of professionalism.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I have nothing to worry about because I haven't said anything that I won't stand by, and I haven't said anything that disparages individuals based on intrinsic values that they themselves cannot change.
Yeah, but that's still just a violation of privacy.
Yes, it
I
is a
don't
violation of
like
privacy.
I don't like the idea of this at all.
Yeah, trust me, it is a violation of privacy. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that these people knew because they are in the quote unquote streaming channel. So this had to have
It's
been whenever he was already live.
yeah, so yeah, I'm surprised Rusty didn't chew out his allegedly his friend for using a word he has to cut out later.
I
It's
don't
like
think they care.
that's just going to get you in trouble with the YouTube algorithm and TOS.
All right, let's continue. Oh, Pip's asking, wait, what did EGAD do? Uh, I mean,
Oh yeah, the stream's a bit behind. He is
well, Pip also wasn't here to hear the whole thing.
he spliced in a what is allegedly a private conversation they were having about the game from a Discord call.
But I think it was whenever he was streaming. I'm giving him
We'll
that.
give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. All right, continue.
And then you look at Lune, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the writer's self-insert. That was
I'm
No,
not
she
lying
isn't.
when I say I genuinely didn't even notice the first time because I was distracted by the city. Because, like, you know, she's one of the first characters you see at the camp, so I was like, there's a lot of blacks here. And then I saw her, and my first thought was, oh, she's hot.
Same.
Yeah, when there was the one zesty black dude who is like hanging with Gustav and is like, well, I'm gonna lead the next expedition. That was like, oh, so are they gonna like kill off Gustav and replace him with the black dude? Like every game that has been like explicitly like an all white setting gets absolutely like hammered by, or like an all not diverse setting. You see article upon article, like the game journalists, we saw it for Wukong, saw it for the original Kingdom Come, saw it for Final Fantasy 16, but you didn't see
What?
it for this game, and I thought that was curious.
Oh no,
I
no,
was
we
like, well,
absolutely
hold on, I've
saw
only
journalists shitting the bed over the lack of diversity in this game. I actually responded to it in my own Let's Play of it, where there were journos who were pissed off about the lack of diversity in the game's party and how they complained about the black guy dying at the beginning. It absolutely was there.
Oh yeah, no, I remember them being upset that the cast was mostly white, with Lune being the one that wasn't.
And second of all, no, Lune is not a self-insert. All the party members, with the exception of Minoko, are based off of personal experiences that she's gone through, but none of them are a self-insert.
Yes, and I mean, any good writer is going to have their ensemble characters have something related to their own personal experiences or their own personal thought processes or their own interactions with other people and base it off of other people. That's what good writers do.
Yeah. For example, Verso is based off of the imposter syndrome she had to get over, while Gustav is based off of her naive idealism of a better world.
And then Mael is her younger self.
While Lune was her life in college, in university, as some people call it, where
And
she's more inquisitive and curious about the world around her and her excitement to learn and study the very continent. That's her whole reason for going on the expedition. She wants to
mhm.
study the continent.
And I think she said that CL was her losing important people in her life and just
I believe
how
so.
it affected her.
And that's CL's whole horrible traumatic backstory and is why she has an aversion to water. I'm not going to spoil it because you get it in pieces as you bond with her at camp with Verso. Because it
And
does
also
hit like a
SGA.
god and SK, so make sure you I'll say this, SK's line, "My terrible swimmer friend," is relevant to that. That's all I'm
Also,
going to say.
also, you just feel better whenever SGA calls you mon ami.
Yes.
Seen like other than like Lune's Asian or whatever, but like outside I haven't seen any melanated individuals in the whole cast. Or that's in any of the like the pre-release trailers or anything. That's strange. And then I saw in obviously the beginning of the game, I'm like, okay, that explains why no critical backlash. But they stick it right in the beginning of the game and then wipe it away for the remainder of the game. But it's pure tokenism, really. And I was half right, I guess. But
Because, like I said, this game does have woke aspects in, like, the beginning of the game, and like you said, with Loon being an Asian. But I struggle to call the entire game like a woke game because of it. When
Yes.
like that's not like the case for like the other 95% of the game. Because like Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like had enough, considering it stretched throughout the entire
Yes.
game essentially. But like everyone in this chat's pretty much acknowledged. Well, not everyone here likes it, but like you and me like it. We think it's a good game, despite acknowledging it's a woke game. So that's why I'm asking you, like, where do you personally draw the line in a game?
The game's success will come down to a single
There's the
unspoken
peeking again.
truth, one that most
Yeah.
AAA studios would rather you never figure out. This has never been about the game being exceptional or about proving that a small team can deliver something worthwhile. The real secret? Don't treat your audience with contempt. And as far as I can tell, Sandfall Interactive hasn't followed the now standard industry practice of spitting in the consumers' faces and calling them bigots for not thanking them for it. That alone might be the smartest move these developers made. As of now, I haven't seen much noise from the developers themselves, which is refreshing. They're a small team, and unlike a lot of modern studios, they haven't plastered themselves across social media, picking fights with players or chasing down negative comments on X or elsewhere. That alone might make them stand out in today's industry. And this suggests, at the very least, that the developers were more interested in telling a story than pushing a message. But that being said, the message is still there, it's just far more subdued. It lingers beneath the surface rather than hijacking the narrative, but it is impossible to ignore if you are paying attention. And to be clear, the game itself is not bad. It is not nearly as amazing as some breathless reviewers would have you believe, but the gameplay itself is solid. Just ensure you ignore anyone calling Expedition 33 innovative or groundbreaking. They're full of it. Despite what
Do you have to be so antagonistic?
I wouldn't call it groundbreaking. No, no, it borrows elements from other JRPGs.
He's gonna get to that, and he treats it like a problem, and I'll address it as it comes up. But if it's good, if it's fun, if it's fast and fluid, why does that matter?
Not only that, but to say that there are elements of it under the surface that are subdued, you're reading subtext into something that's not there. The whole,
If
I don't want to spoil what the actual meaning of everything is, because it's beautiful. It actually is a beautiful thing depending on what ending you choose. Because there are two different endings for this game.
he gets to that.
But the message is beautiful, especially for the one that Seraph and I enjoy.
The one
Uh,
that I, in my personal opinion, would call the good ending.
yes, it
Even if it's depressing as all hell, I would argue it's the better ending for that family.
it leads to a brighter future. That's what I'm going to leave it at. It leads to a brighter future rather than the other ending that leaves everything up in the air.
Yeah, he says something really, really stupid later that we're gonna have to address.
Oh,
Like it's liable to make you angry that it's so bafflingly stupid that what he says.
oh no. Oh no. I'm worried.
Also,
Also,
he's
Pip Pip
demoralizing the
says,
gameplay here, but he's showing one of the best boss fights in the game, which is one of the best uses of this game's gameplay.
dude, I love the duelist fight so much. It's so fun.
It's like
But Pip
especially
Pip,
how it ends where Verso just kills the thing with its own sword.
yes. By the way, Pip Pip said, in regards to the people that were talking earlier, do these people know what those words mean?
Probably not. Some people just like to use big words to sound more photosynthesis.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Gotta always sound more photosynthesis, man. All right, let us continue.
The developers claim about taking inspiration from Final Fantasy and Persona, the mechanics of the game owe far more to the Paper Mario series. You've got real-time turn-based combat mixed with QTEs and timing-based actions for both offense and defense. And the Paper Mario influence is not subtle here. The game plays far more like a stylized action RPG than anything particularly rooted in JRPGs. Take the Pictos system, for example. It functions exactly like Paper Mario's badge system.
Which functions exactly like the materia system from Final Fantasy VII. And
It's
you're
kind of
saying
like it's kind of like Paper
he's
Mario
saying
was
that,
created by Square Enix.
yeah, and he's saying that this RPG plays exactly like a JRPG.
Or excuse me, Mario RPG was created by Square Enix
It
on
was,
behalf of
and
Nintendo.
yeah, but he's saying that this JRPG inspired game plays exactly like another JRPG.
Huh, it's weird. It's like there's a genre where these elements are prominent
Yeah,
for a reason.
and the Paper Mario badge system is very similar to Final Fantasy VII's materia system.
Yes. And there is a system similar to that in um oh god.
Was it 6 or 8 where it was like this?
6, if I'm remembering right. 8 has the 8 has a system where it's a little bit convoluted in how it works, where especially with the way that summons work in 8. But yeah, I think it's more reminiscent of 6 and how 6 works. I need to go back and replay 6 at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm working through the Final Fantasy series. I'm probably gonna stream all the Final Fantasy series at some point.
I would recommend getting a mod for 7 that updates the control scheme because
I have
it is not optimized for modern PC release.
oh no, the release for 7 for PC and for mobile was not that good. Same with the
I mean,
original release of 8, but they
it
fixed
functions,
8 to a degree.
but it's kind of like when plugging your controller into your PC was still relatively new and you had to go in and manually configure the controller to actually work on the computer.
Yeah.
It doesn't show A, B, Y, X or whatever. It shows button 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, but the Steam release of 7 has to where you where it actually reads what Steam inputs for the controller support because they integrated Steam controller support properly finally.
I wound up using an Xbox controller. Like, it functions, you figure it out. It's just a bit unintuitive.
Yeah, but
But there are
the
mods to
pic
fix that, so
I
I
have
recommend getting a mod to fix it.
with Expedition 33, I have no issue with the Picto system. It's just materia.
I'll be honest, it took me an embarrassing amount of time to actually realize what I'm supposed to do with the Pictos I unlock. Like, what do I use these colors of Lumina for? And then it's like, oh, I have made this game harder than it needed to be.
Trust me, I did the same thing up until the fight near the end of uh, the Stonewave Cliffs, where you fight the Rocher or the Rocher,
Yeah,
the one that pops out of the ground at you whenever you're trying to find the
it's kind
crystals.
of yeah.
I was
That
like, why is this harder than it needs to be? And then I looked at the Lumina and I'm like, what is that? And clicked over on it. I'm like, oh, this is why I've been making Pictos usable.
yeah, and if you know what you're doing with the right builds, you can absolutely break this game in half, which is pretty norm for any JRPG. Like, if you know what you're doing, you can break the game in half. And
Yeah,
that's part of the fun of these games.
like if you know what you're doing, you can have Mael one shot a super boss that can one shot you.
That will one-shot you. One tip I heard with this super boss is put all your stats into defense, health, and attack. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It's okay, buddy. You'll beat the super boss soon.
At some point, I'm taking a break from it. I'm going to look up some builds and optimize a bit.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's continue.
To equip a Picto to modify attacks, defenses, and character traits. Each party member also comes with their own combat style and gimmicks, adding variety. But the structure overall is a very familiar one. Now, the combat's main gimmick is its emphasis on dodging, parrying, and jumping. Of the three, dodging is the most forgiving. It has a generous timing window, and you can stack it with certain Pictos for added bonuses. Parries, on the other hand, are far stricter. The timing is tight, and messing that up means you got to eat damage. But if you do manage to pull off a full parry chain during a combo, you'll get a satisfying counterattack and earn even more action points in the process. And finally, there's a jump mechanic, a party-wide dodge activated when a bright yellow icon flashes on the enemy. If you time a jump correctly, you avoid area attacks, and you can even trigger a group counter by hitting the right trigger mid-air. Every character can also fire projectiles during their turn, which is useful for tagging airborne enemies or striking at enemy weak points. Combat variety is reinforced by enemy mechanics. Some enemies generate shield icons that need to be chipped away before you can damage their health again, which is a perfect time to use a dot effect like fire. There's also a yellow break meter that fills up under enemy health bars. And once that's full, triggering a break move stuns them and opens a huge damage window.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Okay.
these elements are part of JRPGs.
I don't
Like,
understand what he's complaining about. He's just summarizing the gameplay.
I think I hope there's a reason for summarizing the gameplay, which he did say this is a review. So talking about the gameplay makes sense. So
But he sounds overly negative about it.
I think that's just his tone. His tone does sound very negative, but I won't chalk that up to anything right now. We are almost halfway through.
Becomes
Yeah.
essential in harder fights. Now, I'm not going to break down every character's individual mechanics. What really matters in combat is how well you perform the timing-based interactions, especially dodging and parrying. And for a lot of players, that will be the game's biggest frustration. The timing windows can be annoyingly vague, and if you're dealing with any input lag, you're going to get punished.
Get good.
I will say there are audio cues on when to parry.
Some of them have audio cues, some of them have more of a visual cue. You just have to learn to read an enemy. And yes, I will admit, I've been faked out by their feints, but that's entirely on me.
Same. Their feints can be pains in the fight. Like, I remember there was one a little bit later on, but prior to the beginning of Act 3, where the enemy has a very long wind up. And you're like, okay, it's gonna hit now. It's gonna hit now. And then like you hit the button thinking that it's gonna hit, and nope, you were off by a good
So
margin.
it throws off an attack, but that's just part of its. And you go to parry or dodge, but that was just part of its windup, and then it just does a spin attack and slams you in the face.
Or the ones that do like the huge spin attack of 7 spins in a row.
Yeah.
Those,
Like you just learn to read the tells.
like,
And by the way, you should learn each party member's mechanics.
yes.
Otherwise, you're not going to get the most out of your damage.
Learn the party members, learn how they play, figure out the pictos that they need, figure out the weapons that they need, level up the weapons that you're trying to build for, and get your stats to the point where it buffs your weapons. Because because all weapons have certain traits that tie into the damage.
It's kind of like playing Elden Ring, where each weapon will scale to a specific stat.
Yeah. And as you level them up, the scaling for that stat gets better and better. All right.
Like for a basic playthrough, it's okay to swap weapons every so often. It's like, here, this one does more damage, and it's going to change your scaling. You're going to have a more roundabout character. But when making a dedicated build, you're going to want to dedicate it to those specific stat scalings.
Exactly. Exactly. And like I've been fiddling around with new builds on this new playthrough that I'm doing. I have it to where CL is my burster at this point. Because before I used her and Minoko as tanks.
And CL can also work well as a support character for pocket healing and applying buffs and cleansing debuffs.
Yep, that is currently Lune. Lune is my healer at the moment.
But CL can literally just function. Like when dealing with more annoying enemies, like those ones that inflict blight, CL is great to cleanse the blight from the enemy. From your party.
No. I fully agree with that. I'm trying to figure out all the different build styles that I can do with these characters on multiple different playthroughs.
And there's plenty of videos out there that have dedicated build guides to just make the ultimate damage dealing version of that character.
Yep. All right. Let us continue.
So while the game presents an engaging combat system, its story quickly reveals itself to be overly complicated for the simplicity of its core premise. Shortly after arriving on the mainland, Gustav is led to believe that he is the sole survivor, and so very nearly Minecrafts himself as he wallows in despair. I'm uncertain as to why the game emphasizes this moment the way it does, since Gustav will be readily thrown away as a character right before the second act. What I've assumed is this is all part of an elaborate setup to subvert the audience's expectations, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail as I continue. Now,
So,
He
real
watched
quick,
his entire expedition, comprised of his friends and colleagues, get butchered within a few minutes of arriving on the mainland.
yeah, it kind of sent him into a suicidal depression. That happens to anybody that's been in combat and sees their friends butchered in front of them.
Rusty, you are a military veteran.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that this isn't even a thought in his head. Like why he wouldn't think of that.
No, but also Gustav isn't just thrown away.
We'll get to that when we get to that. He does go over in a very crass, very dismissive way.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
I haven't seen that part of the video. This is about where I've had to leave. So the rest of it's all new to me.
Yeah.
Lucky for Gustav in this instance, Lune shows up and gives a boost to his morale. Later they locate Mael and Skiel, and the four of them continue on their journey to find the paintress. Now along the way, Mael begins experiencing visions of the mysterious white-haired man from the beach, alongside a girl wearing a mask. These visions are incredibly cryptic and are really all just set up to needlessly dole out an extremely convoluted plot twist that will happen near the end of the game. As the story progresses, the group learns that to reach the
He's getting
paintress,
annoyed at
they must
buildup.
cross the sea. One of the local creatures there volunteers to take them across, but before they can set off, they're ambushed once again by the white-haired man. And in a dramatic turn of events, Gustav is killed by the ludonarrative dissonance. But fear not, player. There's a new guy who will just take
he
his
doesn't know what
place. A
ludonarrative
dude named
dissonance
Verso
means. He does
I'm-
not know what ludonarrative dissonance means, and it appears nobody knows what that means.
How is there a dissonance between the gameplay and the narrative being shown? Because
There isn't. People don't know what ludonarrative dissonance means. Every time I hear this term comes up, it's always misused. And no, Gustav is not being needlessly thrown away here. He is sacrificing himself so his foster daughter has a chance to escape. He is protecting her.
also this entire combat is a uh
It's a scripted
cinematic.
event.
Yeah, it's scripted and it's cinematic. Like that happens a few times in the story as well. Like there's no dissonance between the combat that you do and what happens in the story. Like it all flows together in this instance here.
Like, here's an example of what ludonarrative dissonance is. You know that NPC you killed while playing Grand Theft Auto? That didn't necessarily happen. You know that building you smashed into while playing Arkham Knight? Notice how it just reappears next time you go through there? That's ludonarrative dissonance. Those are things that don't happen in the story that you cause in the gameplay. There's a dissonance between the narrative and the gameplay.
Well, while here, the narrative and the gameplay work together very well to tell the story better. All right, let's hear what he's gonna say about Gustav.
Arrives on the scene all of a sudden and stops the assailant, allowing the party to escape. Now, this is why I said that the entire setup for Gustav's character was intended to subvert expectations. Gustav's entire arc feels forced and unnecessary, begging the question why Mael wasn't the main character, since effectively she is. My theory
Because she's
on this
a
is
main
that this was
character.
meant to make the player believe that you weren't playing as yet another female character as the leading protagonist in a piece of media. I mean, if you look at most of the promotional material for the game, like the trailers, you were obviously led to think that Gustav was meant to be the protagonist. You start
Notice it
out
shows
as
each
him,
member
and
of
the
the
game
party.
gives you initial push.
Except
If
for
you go
one.
back, you'll notice it showed, with one exception, it showed every member of the party in the promotional material.
Yep.
Yes, their profile picture is of Gustav, but their actual videos show every member of the party with one exception.
Yep. And also, how is Gustav's story arc forced? He is a man that has suffered and lost, and the woman that he loved and that loved him was gamaged, and now his sister slash daughter that was adopted by his family and by him and his sister um is now in harm's way because there was a bigger threat than they had anticipated on the mainland.
Like, even multiple times, he wants to just abandon the expedition. Like, after the expedition gets butchered and he learns Mael is still alive, he wants to take her and just go home. To hell with it. Fuck the
And
mission.
and Mael's the one that convinces him to continue pushing on.
Yeah. And then later in the story, whenever they find the Jestro village, he wants her to stay behind where it is safe.
Yep.
He is protective of his surrogate daughter, of his surrogate sister. How is this a negative trait for a male character?
It's not, and it's also not forced.
He's nurturing and protective. You know, things a man should be.
I don't see how it's forced. I like Gustav's story. I believe that it ends where it needs to, for the narrative, but it hurts. It hurts whenever you see that.
I mean,
Like,
his last words to Mael were just run.
like one of my buddies and I were playing at the same time, and I got a little bit ahead of him. Then he got ahead of me and finished Act 1. And he told me, "Hey, you may need to take a break after Act 1. I had to step away for 45 minutes because of what happened." He didn't tell me what happened. He's just like, "You need to step away. You might need to step away." And because I had been enjoying the characters, I had been enjoying the story, that gut punch of what happens at the end of Act 1 made it to where I needed to walk away for 25 minutes. I had to actually put down the game and just think about what happened and why it led up to that. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it. But no,
Yeah.
it's forced. Gustav and Mael are protagonists, but Mael's obviously the one that they wanted to put as the main protagonist, but they didn't want to get the backlash, even though they didn't, because these are well-rounded characters in general. I don't mind female-led games. There's a lot of female-led
I
games
don't
that I
either.
play. I just care that they're written well.
I mean, I've enjoyed the Tomb Raider series.
Yeah. Lord
I didn't
Prophet
care
is,
much for I didn't care much for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I just didn't like the direction that story took, but I didn't think it was a bad game or badly written. It's just
yeah,
I don't feel like it flows well out of Rise of the Tomb Raider.
that's fair. But yeah, no, the masculine, like, masculinity of wanting to protect and care for those that you love, that
That's
that's apparently not,
forced.
yeah, it's forced and it's
That's
not
not
masculine
real.
enough.
Push into his perspective by having him watch his girlfriend die to the gommage. So there would be no reason the game would just suddenly kill him off unless, of course, the writers just added him here purely for the sake of tricking the player into thinking that the game did not otherwise have a female lead. And the problem isn't just that Gustav dies suddenly. No, the game's ending also undercuts any emotional weight that this moment was supposed to have had. Now, Verso, the dude who just saved the
One
party,
of the
eventually
endings
catches up
can
with
do
everyone.
that.
He reveals
Yeah.
that he is a survivor of the first expedition, Expedition Zero, and that the white-haired man, Renoir, was its former commander. Verso also claims that both he and Renoir stopped aging soon after arriving on the continent, asserting that they are effectively immortal. However, as the plot unfolds, we'll find out Verso was lying. He will further confess that he is Renoir's son and that the masked girl in Mael's vision is, in fact, Verso's sister, Alicia. So I'm going to skip ahead a bit, but the party does eventually enter the monolith where the paintress resides.
So
and
you're just
they
going to
kill
completely
Renoir
skip
there.
over the
Next, they
axons,
confront the
Yeah.
which are narratively important for the characters and story.
That's weird to skip over.
He who guards truth with lies, like Verso is a liar through omission.
Yep. Or subterfuge.
Yes,
Because he's giving them information. Doesn't mean it's
just not
accurate information.
all, just not all the information,
Or accurate.
and he is called out for it.
Oh yeah. Several times.
In Lumiere, he goes, can we talk about this later? I very much like you all to survive this. And you have a phenomenal boss fight with Renoir in Old Lumiere. With some phenomenal music.
Also, the fight between
Renoir in the monolith.
yeah.
Like, he doesn't even want to fight there. He tries to talk you down, and Verso actually has reservations about killing his father. We only need to incapacitate him.
And then Mael's just like, no, we kill him.
We'll find a way to kill him. Like, because she wants revenge.
Because he took family from her.
Yes. But family is complicated.
Oh, so complicated. All right, let's continue.
paintress herself, and we get set up for another rug pull in the form of a long-running trauma trope. We soon learn that the paintress is Verso's mother, a woman named Aline, also Renoir's wife. When Aline is defeated, the number 33 on the monolith disappears, and the characters believe that they have saved the world. However, Verso receives a letter from Alicia that reveals the shocking truth. Aline, the paintress, was actually protecting the people of Lumiere from Renoir, her husband. And surprise, surprise, it was Renoir who was the true cause of the gommage. But this begs the question, were you really misled into thinking that the paintress was the villain all along, even though all evidence showed that she was suffering? Something to be kept in mind here is that there was an early instance in the game where Gustave investigates a rose on the ground, and that's defended by one of the local creatures as soon as he touches it.
Why didn't you bring this up when it was relevant, though?
The party is then attacked, and at
Yeah,
the end of the
hold on.
fight, Gustave attempts to finish off the creature, but Lune insists it was all a misunderstanding.
It seems peaceful, as long as we don't touch the flowers.
Yeah, let's not get too sentimental. It's still a paintress creation.
With the paintress, what is clear is that there is a woman here in agony, weeping with her head in her arms, and later during combat, she's casting spells that protect rather than harm. So what?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's called subversion. The narrative points out that the woman is in pain, that the woman is suffering.
Yes.
It's called,
Also,
all that shows is the story is deeper than what you're led to believe. There's more
Also,
to it. God
don't
forbid
forget-
there be nuance.
don't forget the shrine to the paintress that you find
Yes.
in
In Stonewave Cliffs.
Yep. Somebody built that, which was probably Verso.
Probably.
And you can see, like, it's very hard to see how she's positioned far off, but you can see that she's hunched over, holding her legs, and it looks like she's crying.
And that is relevant for something we're going to bring up a little later.
So there are elements presented that show more of the picture. You just got to piece everything together because it's a big puzzle, because everything has purpose.
Almost like it's a JRPG, and that's a common trope among the writing in JRPGs.
Also, is it played out that the mom wants to protect the thing that I'll get to that. She wants to protect the people of Lumiere. And the dad wants to destroy it, but he hasn't gone over why.
Oh, he completely misses the reason as to why, and we're gonna get to that.
Oh no.
Oh no, indeed.
Okay. When does he say it? Is it coming up? Is it very soon?
It's gonna be pretty soon.
Okay, but to finish this off, the story gives you all the pieces that you need through visual storytelling, through environmental storytelling, through the way that characters act, from the combat style that they have. It all gives you everything you need to piece the puzzles together.
After I beat the Paintress and go back to Lumiere, I knew that wasn't the end. It's like something wasn't right.
Also,
And
you're only in
boy,
Act
was I
2.
right. And boy, was I right.
Yeah. Like, I was like, this. I was also like, this can't be the end. I'm only in Act 2. Usually there's a 3-act structure for storytelling. What is the third act? But yeah.
What happened to all that care and understanding issued earlier? Would that have been too practical? Point being is the game pushes this tragic moment on you, with sad music and everything, and necessarily makes you, the player, the killer of an innocent woman for reasons of dramatic tension and forcing the plot in one particular direction. But as I said, don't bother looking for answers to all this. The story is not interested in logic. Everything is whimsical, vague, and symbolic. And you are not meant to ask any questions here. You're just meant to feel.
They give you
But
the
I'm
answers
gonna
in the
ask
very next
questions,
act.
damn it. This is yet another storyline that affirms a state of trauma for a woman. Trauma perpetuated by a man, all made overly dramatic for the sake of eliciting some pity for the victim, although this whole thing could have been avoided had the Paintress made any effort in explaining things to the protagonists. But you see, the central problem with world building on a state of magical plot-driven fairy dust is there's always going to be some overt explanation as to why something occurred that is impractical to how real people would act in any given scenario. So,
Oh my god. He's already off the mark here.
Renoir is not traumatizing his wife.
Okay, yeah.
We have to spoil it.
No. Hold on. Let's wait till he gets to the ending explanation, then we can explain everything. But I will say right now, he's already off the mark.
I'll say
especially in this scene.
There is a reason why Alicia is scarred and wears a mask.
There is also a reason.
The moment before you go into the monolith, Alicia and Renoir both visit with Verso. And Verso tells Alicia, my beautiful sister does not need to hide behind this ugly mask.
Yes. Not only that, but the whole trauma being forced upon her by a man. No. Whenever we get to the end, it will be explained why this is happening and why
We've already explained that the game takes place inside of a canvas world.
But there's a reason for it.
There is a reason for that, and there's a reason why Renoir wants to erase everything, and there's a reason why he wants to remain in the canvas.
Yes. And we'll also explain why why the children are involved as well. Because, yeah.
I realize there's a myriad of headcanon explanations as to why the plot couldn't otherwise have found some practical resolution to all this, but ultimately this is all going to serve as some ideal about the way trauma works. Once again, the woman is an innocent angel who did nothing wrong and was traumatized by the man, her husband, who is to take the blame for everything harmful going on. Anyway, because the paint...
What the fuck?
The story paints her as also being wrong.
Like, she's wrong for wanting to live inside of a fantasy instead of accepting reality.
But we'll get to
Renoir
that.
is wrong. Renoir is wrong because of his overly aggressive way in trying to make his family face reality.
Yes, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that spoiler.
But both Renoir and Elaine are suffering. Both of them are traumatized. Both of them are in despair. The very closing line at the end of the game, when Mael confronts him saying, "Don't erase this canvas," he tells her, "Do you think I want to?" Life forces difficult choices on us.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons I love Renoir as a character, man.
He is a traumatic, like, there are no true villains in this story. There is an antagonistic force, but they're not truly villains. They're not
Yeah.
evil.
You
They are
you
people
can
who are suffering a horrible tragedy.
you can be an antagonist without being a villain, and vice versa. Um, and it gives you both sides of the story by the end of the game, and you choose what happens. And there is a reason why everything is happening and why everything is taking place in a painted world that we'll get to whenever he gets to the end of his explanation for the game.
Is gone now, the population of Lumiere vanishes. Here, the story takes a bizarre turn of events and enters a realm of alternate realities. Like my buddy Kane's Games has said, and I agree with, why can't my RPG stories ever be simple and straightforward anymore? Why couldn't the Paintress have just been some cosmic entity you had to reach and kill and win the game? But no, the narrative becomes even more convoluted, resembling a chaotic blend of fantasy and science fiction tropes akin to the unpredictable antics of a Rick and Morty episode. It's soon revealed that Gustave's role as the apparent protagonist was a red herring after all. In reality, the true protagonist of this story is Mael, or Alicia, who, as it turns out, is a highly powerful character with the ability to
can
alter
pause
the
whenever you
world
want
through
to.
her magical abilities as a painter. The
We'll
narrative
pause
then
in a minute.
introduces a backstory involving Alicia's family, who are magical beings
Oh, by the way, this
known
is
as
some concept
painters,
art for the
who are
game.
capable of
Yes.
creating entire worlds within magical canvases. So, yes, not only is Mael actually the main character, but given she is also granted the powers to alter the reality of the world in some measure, she is arguably a Mary Sue character. Unless, of course, you
And
count the
that's where I want to
arbitrary...
pause. She's not a Mary Sue. It takes her a
No.
while to even figure out how to use her powers, and she's still nowhere near as skilled as her sister, her mother, or her father, or even her late brother, Verso, who the real Verso died in a fire saving her.
Like hmm,
And if you paid attention to the story, you would have pieced that together, like when you defeat the first, well, who can be the first Axon, the Mask Keeper, who is the Axon Verso. Where
Yeah.
this painted Verso says, "That was Verso, wasn't it?" Which you can even piece together in the Mask Keeper's fighting style, where he uses a long sword and a dagger, just like Verso. Uses
Also,
attacks
let's
very
not forget
similar to Verso.
let's not forget, how can she be a Mary Sue whenever she's trained her entire life with her family of painters to know how to paint and manipulate canvas?
And she's nowhere near as skilled as the late Verso, her older sister Clea, or her mother or father. In fact, she's overwhelmed by the canvas when she first goes into it and is painted over and becomes Mael, living
I
a
don't,
completely different life, ignorant of her life outside the canvas until she's forced out of it.
yep, she's forced out. She just I don't like that. That's false in regards to Mael slash Alicia.
But no, it's a woman and she has power, therefore is a Mary Sue.
Yeah,
Let's not forget that Alicia is naive, brash, and immature.
Also, since when have RPGs ever been straightforward?
I mean, yeah, you could have just made the Paintress some cosmic entity and horror, and then you would have just defeated her in the third act. But there's still the question of where did she come from, and it'd still be weird, vague, and cryptic even in that even in that instance.
Like, I'm thinking back to Final Fantasy 1. The start of the story is very straightforward. There's an evil knight that captured the princess, and he's needs to be defeated, and then all of a sudden the world starts to crumble around you, and you need to gather the crystals and put the world back in balance. Oh, by the way, it's a time travel story now too.
Yeah, RPGs have always been kind of out there. I mean, look at the Persona franchise where you have to go into an alternate reality to fight evil shadows and tame monsters and demons. Like,
Or
JRPGs have always been weird and cryptic. That's just part of the nature, part of the fun, part of what people like about it.
I I don't know, man. I don't know how you can sit here and be like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't give you any answers whenever it gives you literally every single answer that you're asking for, aside from who the writers are, how they have the painter power, how they can go into canvas, and all the stuff that revolves around the real world, which I presume would be explained in a future game or other media if they decide to write books about set in the same world.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't make sense.
I would honestly compare Rusty to a right-wing Lily Orchid, or CD Call as they call themselves now. Doesn't pay attention to the story, makes shit up, and then gets mad about their stuff they made up because they believe their own bullshit. I know that's a bit harsh, but that's just how he's coming across here.
Yep. Yep. Oh boy, dude. And there's still 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Video game elements of the combat set apart by ludonarrative dissonance. The
Oh
conflict
my
between
god,
her
there he
mother and
misuses that
father,
again.
Aline and Renoir, is explained as a dispute over the canvas that contains Lumiere, which Aline used to live with a fake version of her brother, Verso. And that was after the real Verso died,
He just
having
called.
saved Alicia
He just
from
got his
a
own.
fire. Now, a woman named
Pause for a
Clea,
second.
Alicia's older sister,
He just called
encourages
Verso
I-
Elaine's brother. He misspoke there and didn't redo the line.
Yeah, it's Alicia and
I-
Clea.
But Elaine, but living in the canvas has its consequences because your mortal body is still outside the canvas.
Yep.
Renoir even explains that remaining inside the canvas has its benefits. It's enthralling, it's powerful, it's intoxicating, but it also has its consequences. And you can see that he is in a weakened state. He's struggling to walk, to stand, to even breathe. Because while they've been inside the canvas in the real world, quote unquote, for an undisclosed amount of time, it's been damn near 60 years, damn near 70 years, excuse me, inside the canvas.
Yeah. So time flows differently outside and inside the canvas.
Yeah.
Also,
There are consequences to remaining in the canvas for extended periods of time. This is also alluded to time moving differently because Clea would even go into that canvas and go on her little adventure. Would bond with one of the creations named Francois, who misses her dearly, and which is why he's such a sourpuss.
yes. Also,
And
just
that's
as
also a moment of levity where Francois is just grumpy.
Francois is. I can't find a character that I don't like.
I mean, Francois is just funny. SK, stop sending hooligans over here. That's just funny.
Or what was it? The comment about him walking around and they're like, "You can walk."
Yeah. Or
Uh,
also, Verso is alluded to in Act 1, where SK actually mentions him by name, calling him his best friend, and you can find a journal entry from expeditioners commenting on the fact that SK's friend is immortal.
yeah. Do you
And
find
that's
that
also
throughout
rather
the
played for laughs because that's also a moment played for laughs because the expeditioners dying from poisonous mushrooms are just annoyed by this fact.
yeah, they're like, oh, I guess we're dying now. Also, Pip Pip says, I would say he is a right wing Anita Sarkeesian.
That's a fair point.
Hello, Proton. You should play the game if you ever have free time.
It truly is an amazing game.
You really should play the game. It's so good. All right, let's continue.
Alicia to enter the canvas and destroy it, all in an effort to end their parents' conflict and refocus on a war with a rival faction called the Riders. And so Alicia enters the canvas, but she becomes overwhelmed by Aline's powers, which causes her very identity to be overwritten by the Mayel persona. In other words, the entire plot becomes a tangled web of events driven by contrived circumstances, with all the characters' actions feeling like they were predetermined by the narrative rather than shaped by any meaningful choices. In the final act, Alicia regains her memories as the Mayel persona ceases to exist along with the destruction of Lumiere. She then reunites with a fake version of Verso who had initially sought to expel Aline from the canvas, even if that meant allowing Renoir to destroy everything. Now Alicia attempts to convince her father to abandon his plan, but he remains determined to erase the canvas entirely, all in an effort to prevent Aline from returning there. Again, there seems to be a more practical solution being overlooked here, but the game just isn't interested in practicality.
Okay.
When
So,
people are in very emotional, traumatic moments, they're not going to be thinking logically.
so here is the thing, right? The Mael persona doesn't fade away. It doesn't.
It's
Alicia
still there.
Alicia is Mael and Mael is Alicia. It all melds together. Alicia, she
I mean,
even
Verso
says,
himself says it, you will always be Mael.
yes, because
This is who you are.
the two have become one at this point. She's experienced both lives and can recall memories from both lives. So, she's still one person, but she has two life experiences due to being painted over in the canvas.
Also, the fact that she was overwhelmed by her mother's power shows that, no, she's not a Mary Sue.
Not only that, but it's also explained by Renoir that he has hidden this canvas multiple times, and his wife still finds it.
I mean, Clea herself says, you did a good job hiding it, but Elaine is still going to find it. In fact, she does find it because she comes in the end to aid Alicia in her fight against Renoir.
Because again, Alicia is not a Mary Sue. But
I mean, I was severely overleveled for that fight, but toward the end of the second stage of Renoir's final fight, Elaine will tell him, go home, Renoir. Paint in another canvas.
I could say the same thing to you.
Yeah, because that's the pot calling the kettle black there.
Yep.
Also, it's explained that Elaine was too weak to even return to that canvas, and doing so nearly killed her. Verso is not pleased with his mother's return.
Yep. So, yeah, no, logic dictates that because Elaine, whatever you want to call her, is so hellbent on living inside of her son's canvas that even hiding it does not stop her from finding it and getting back in, dictates that
It has to be destroyed.
the only way to save her is to destroy it.
Life forces difficult choices on us, and Renoir doesn't even want to destroy this canvas. This is the last piece of his son that he has. It pains him to do this, but he knows that not doing it is going to kill the last bits of his family that he has left. He doesn't want to lose anyone else.
Which again makes him a good dad.
Sometimes
like I said,
being a good father requires making difficult decisions and doing things that will hurt them emotionally, but it is for their own best interests. It's for their own good.
yes, it is, and it sucks that this choice has to even be made, but to protect the livelihood of his wife and other children, it's a choice that needs to be made. And
he's not doing this to be cruel. But even Renoir himself, the painted Renoir, says it himself. What I do is not a cruelty. Oh, and
No,
by the way, the reason why the paintress just couldn't communicate with the expeditioners, she is imprisoned inside the monolith by Clair. And Clair imprisoned Renoir, the real Renoir, below the monolith.
Yep.
That's why none of them could leave or communicate with them what's actually going on.
Until one of them is expelled.
The only expeditioners that made it inside the monolith was Expedition 60, who did learn the truth, did try to tell them, but they weren't able to return to Lumiere in time. They gourmaged.
Yep. All right. Let us continue.
Alicia then defies her father, using her painter powers to resurrect the entire party that died with Lumiere, and so all the fallen expedition members are there to confront him. That leads to a climactic battle, after which Renoir agrees to let Alicia and Verso decide the fate of the canvas themselves. The game then presents a player's
That's
choice
not exactly what
that
happens.
ultimately feels inconsequential. The choices don't lead to any truly meaningful resolution here. The ending diverges based on the character chosen by the player.
Doesn't lead to any meaningful conclusion. You can either let Alicia live in a fantasy that's going to slowly kill her, or you can force her to accept reality and move on.
Yep. But no, there's no meaningful choice whatsoever. And
especially since Alicia, Mael here, is being an incredibly selfish person.
She's being childish.
Verso is immortal. Like, he can't even sleep. Like, it is explained in one of your bonding moments with Lune, where he used to have horrible nightmares. This is even alluded to after defeating the first Axon. But eventually the nightmares faded and it's just nothing. Not even a restful sleep, so he just doesn't sleep.
Because he doesn't have to.
Yeah. And Lune wants him to sleep so she can study him to see what happens. She's inquisitive, she's curious, she wants to learn more about the world.
And all of a sudden, their entire world comes crashing down whenever they realize they're not real.
In fact, the party tries to convince Renoir this isn't the correct choice, but he has to do it. What your friends say is true, but it changes nothing. Doing this is painful to him.
Yep. Yep. And not only that, but you see all of it come together at the end. You get to choose.
Yeah. Personally, I chose to let Verso decide the fate of the canvas, expel Alicia, and let the last remaining piece of Verso's soul be at rest. You see that boy on the ground multiple times throughout the story in different areas, being vague and cryptic, and you also see a man and a woman, and it all leads up to this. The man was Renoir, the woman is Elaine, and the boy is Verso's last piece of his soul. Everything led up to this. Yes, it's vague and cryptic, but it all built up to something bigger.
And an explanation.
Yes. I ultimately pieced together that the boy was Verso whenever I defeated Clea in the flying manner, because he mentioned music.
Oh, I realized
Verso,
that it was him whenever you're walking through and you see the ghostly figure playing piano and you hear the
in Lumiere, you hear A Life Loving You, the rendition on piano.
yep.
It's like that. The fact that that was Verso's song that he wrote honestly makes that fight with Renoir and the Monolith hit harder.
Yes. Like whenever you're going through the monolith and you start seeing all these different uh points of life for this boy, and you hear the voices of the man and the woman talking in the distance, and you realize that it is the voice that you heard when Mael was in that trance state after Gustav's death.
Inside the void, where she was inside the void, but also in the painted cliffs.
Yes.
She was
But
split between two places. There's your first instance of building up to the twist. Well, one of your
but
first instances, not the very first instance.
whenever I heard the voices of the mother and the father talking to the boy, I was like, "Oh, that's Verso." And I was like, "Wait, does that mean that Mael and Verso are related?"
Like I figured there was a connection between the two of them because when you're inside, you see Elaine teaching her children to paint. There were two girls up there. I figured
Yep.
that she was going. I figured Alicia was going to be her sister, not that she was Alicia.
That's also what I thought. But I mean, all the storytelling elements are there to tell you exactly who these people are and why they're there. You
And
just
then
got
you
to
get
pay
even more
attention.
of it. You even get even more of it when they're with their bonding events, where Versa mentions that music is his passion. While he is a skilled painter, he valued music over painting.
Yep. And that's why this is his only canvas.
And it's why Alicia and Elaine want to preserve it because it's the last piece they have of him.
Even though they have his music too.
They have his music, they have his memories.
Yep.
They have the memory of him.
But they want
But they
someplace
don't,
they can use their ability to go see him.
because they would rather live in a fantasy than face reality. But that fantasy will slowly kill them.
Let's continue.
If Alicia is chosen, she rebuilds Lumiere and revives its people, choosing to live in the canvas permanently. And if Verso is chosen, he banishes Alicia from the canvas and destroys it in the process, which in turn forces Alicia and her family to deal with reality, Alicia's scarred face, and the death of her brother. Now you might be questioning why Alicia's choice is considered the good ending. To be frank, I don't believe it is, but what
Then
I
why
noticed
would you say
is that
that?
the game was dead set on a narrative that posited the innocence of Aline as she is traumatized by her husband, Renoir. All the
Oh
music
my
in the
God of
game would also
mercy.
lean in that direction as well. Regardless of the game giving you the choice in the end here, there is a clear inflection that opposing Renoir is the morally white choice, while siding with Verso is morally black. Kane's Game, Synthetic Man, and Latina Parfait, and who knows how many other synth cells will have their own perspectives about this, but I am curious as to what everyone will determine. Now, previously I had argued that the story pretends to have depth, but ultimately presents a simple plot buried.
Also, yeah, he calls people that like Synthetic Man synth cells for some reason.
I don't watch Synthetic Man. I don't
I
care
don't
about
either.
Synthetic Man. But
Yeah,
for
I
living
don't.
inside a fantasy that's going to slowly kill Renoir's last bits of remaining family is not a good choice. The game, if you paid attention to the story, if you paid attention to what Renoir said, you would learn that. You
Yeah,
would know that.
nobody thinks it's a good choice to destroy the canvas. No one does. However, it
Living in
is
it isn't a good choice either.
there is no good choice. there is only the better choice of we need to accept that our brother/son is no longer around, that we will never see him again, that he died, and we have to move past this grief and just honor his memory.
In fact, in Verso's ending, they actually all visit his grave, and they leave red and white flowers on his grave, the same petals that people fade into on their gourmage.
Yep. It's honestly beautiful. Like I said, that ending is so beautiful because it's everybody accepting the fact that they need to move on. The fact that they have been grieving Verso's death for so long that they've lost sight of themselves.
There's also the fact that Verso's soul cannot be at peace until the canvas is destroyed, because his soul is the only thing keeping it together. They need, like, he reaches his hand out to him. It's time to go. It's time to move on.
Like, Verso...
And you're tired, and you can rest now. Hello, Wisp.
Wisp is deafened.
Deafened
is Wisp
and, yeah,
deafened?
deafened. I don't know.
Okay.
5 more minutes.
Yep, 5 more minutes. There's
Well, closer to 4 minutes.
Wisp? You there?
Hello.
Hello. We are watching Rusty's video.
Why are you spoiling yourself?
We've already played the game. It's not the VeggieTales video. It's his Expedition 33 video.
Yeah.
Why are you
It's
torturing
not.
yourself?
That's an excellent question.
Because I don't like wrong information.
Like, it's okay to dislike the game. I'm going to say that now. It's a game that's not going to appeal to everyone, nor should it appeal to everyone.
But who claims that it should or has to?
Normies who think games have to appeal to everyone, which is just watering down gaming.
It's not even normies. That's just idiots and assholes.
Yeah.
But did Rusty make that claim that it has to do that?
No, I'm just speaking
Good.
generally.
Yeah, but he did make the claim that if a game isn't from Japan, it can't be considered a JRPG, even if it falls in the same genre as a JRPG normally does.
He's an idiot.
I mean, if you want to be extremely pedantic about it, he's technically correct. But
this is one of those types where there's two definitions of it. It has two aspects.
Yeah,
and they don't need to both be fulfilled.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you just want to be pedantic to the most extreme measures, sure, but I choose not to be that way.
Also, have you looked at the list of favorite games of the Sandfall Interactive?
I think it was the director did no hit runs with Devil May Cry.
Yes, he did. About 8 of the 33 employees put Final Fantasy VIII as one of their favorite games.
Yeah, they were heavily inspired by numerous JRPGs like Final Fantasy and Persona.
Oh,
Yep.
I remember. I went over that list with you.
The HR lady's the only one that we had issue with because she said Expedition 33 was her favorite game.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
like,
kind of bias.
Yeah.
No, that just says that she has never played a game in her life.
Yeah.
But
Which is it's the HR lady. She's probably state mandatory.
Probably.
The commissar.
Yeah.
Literally, HR exists to have the party commissar in your company.
Yes, it is.
HR exists to protect the company, not the worker.
No, wrong. It exists because it doesn't protect the company. Because HR is usually used to fire people who are competent in the company, whom narcissistic assholes feel are a threat to their position of power within the company and their progress in the company. That's how they get rid of them. So HR is actually a detriment to the companies at this point.
Yeah.
Has been for a long time.
But we're talking spoilers as well about Expedition 33. If you were ever gonna play it.
I did kind of want to at some point.
Yeah.
It is a Steelbox, I believe, is up for pre-order.
Yes, it has the game
on Amazon. The game, art book, some art posters.
Yeah, I don't have budget for that.
Understandable.
But I think the game's gonna go on sale again here soon with the fall sale.
I did wonder whether I'd buy the bug game because I did enjoy the first one, even though I took issue with some of the developers' commentary. But
bug game? What?
The bug game.
Oh, Hollow Knight.
The game full of bugs.
Hollow Knight or
yeah, Hollow Knight.
The Hollow Knight they probably shouldn't have made. How do we make a second game with a character that's double the hitbox?
Oh, Silk Song.
Yeah, it's Silk Song. From what I've been hearing, it's fun. It is using the same movement as Castlevania Symphony.
Yeah, I know. I know people are complaining that Silk Song, the enemies are hit harder and have a bit too much health.
Well, that's okay because you're playing a boss character.
Yeah, that's fine. But Silk Song's entire moveset is like just the base moveset is Alucard from Symphony of Night.
I think that's okay, but it's also a bit.
Yeah. We have 4-ish minutes
Hollow Knight
left.
himself is DuckTales.
Yeah, it is. So we have 4 minutes left of this video, and then we'll be free.
Okay.
That should be what, 20-ish minutes?
Why are you watching that anyway?
Because it.
Then where?
Oh, watch together. Yeah,
it's in the watch together. It's in VC chat.
Yeah, it's in the
side chat?
CC. Yeah, it's in the side chat.
That's the thing I never look at.
He's probably gonna spoil you on the story.
And we're in the last 4 minutes, so.
And we've been talking a lot of story spoilers because he's been talking spoilers.
Look, I still didn't get to Octopath Traveler, and that was gifted to me at my birthday 2 years ago. I feel bad about not having played it yet.
But I know you don't like spoilers because it puts you off of playing games if you know too much. But you ready, Seraph?
Yeah.
Under layers of unnecessary complexity. The canvas itself is a metaphor for escapism, a fairy tale spin on the Matrix with inverted morality, rewarding the abandonment of reality rather than confronting it. The supposed good ending here is framed as choosing escapism over real-world struggles, akin to opting for a painless death over the agony of existence. Honestly, if you break things down, there's not much about Expedition 33 that is dissimilar from Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance centers around a group of children who are transported into a fantasy world of Ivalice. After one of them, Mute, discovers a magical storybook in a library and he wishes for escape. In the real world, Mute is a grieving child. His mother has died, and his father has spiraled into depression and alcoholism. Within Avalis, however, his mother is alive, and his father is transformed into a respected judge, offering Mute the emotionally stable world he longs for. The game's protagonist, Marsh, is somewhat of a player insert character, but he's not without depth. He struggles with feelings of neglect, as much of his family's attention is focused on caring for his handicapped younger brother. And Marsh also battles with guilt over resenting that dynamic. Despite his own emotional challenges, he is the only one from the outset who seeks to return to reality, understanding that the fantasy world, however appealing, is a lie. The core narrative revolves around Marsh's efforts to undo Mute's wish and bring everyone back to the real world. Interestingly, the underlying message is counterintuitive for a fantasy RPG. Rather than glorifying escapism, it critiques it, urging players to confront reality rather than retreat into an illusion. And this message has not been without its own controversy. Many players interpret Marsh's actions as cruel or even villainous, accusing him of destroying a world where others, particularly Mute, found genuine happiness. Ironically, this backlash is part of why the game, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, resonates with the players who played it. The ambiguity of its moral stance and the emotional complexity of its characters made it a more personal and introspective experience than its predecessor, Final Fantasy Tactics. For some, it's not about saving the world, it's about whether the world is even worth saving in the first place. But let's turn back.
So literally everything that is presented in Expedition 33.
Yeah, like you can choose to let Alicia remain in the canvas, but that's not necessarily the good outcome.
Aside from the metaphor used by the game, specifically, this isn't even spoiler for me, as this is kind of the standard type story that these JRPGs have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, by the way,
So, I
he
mean,
said
if you have played enough of them, you're not surprised by the existentialist questions within them, especially since this is a French studio.
yeah. Not
Yeah,
to
So
mention
it all works. It all works together. Existentialism is part of French philosophy. It's just here also married with artistic themes that the French like.
not to
I mean,
mention
it's
that the one of his buddies was like, well, can't we just have non-convoluted stories? And stories have been convoluted since the beginning. Like
That's-
every JRPG has a convoluted story. It's
Yes,
That's
that's
kind-
part of the. That's part of the. If your JRPG doesn't have a convoluted story, is it even a JRPG?
I mean, having a convoluted story is part of the fun.
like
Yeah.
people praise
It's part. It's
Final
in a
Fantasy
way.
VII.
It's rather world building and.
I mean, just having there's a point where it can be too convoluted where nothing makes sense, but when everything connects together in its own convoluted way, then that's what's enjoyable about it.
And everything connects in Expedition 33. Literally, we've been talking about just what little elements will build to the outcome of the end. Like, it gives you literally everything that you are looking for. The story lays everything out by the end. And, yeah, again, it's shown that both choices that you get are bad. There is no
Which is
good
the
choice.
better, but what is the better choice?
And me and you agree that the better choice is live in reality. Wow, what a strange concept that the game actually presents you with both arguments fairly.
Yes. Especially since his so-called Mary Sue character is acting like an impatient child.
Yep. Yeah, he called the main one of the main protagonists a Mary Sue because she has abilities that she's had since birth and was trained since birth to use.
And then directly
That's
contradicts it.
not...
And then directly contradicts himself in showing that she was overwhelmed and lost the use of. Oh my
Yep.
God, I cut out. And
so
then
that the Mary Sue couldn't do a thing.
Yeah, basically directly contradicts himself in showing that she was. That
You
shows
cut out
that she was
again.
overwhelmed. I'm gonna leave and rejoin. Discord does that sometimes. Directly contradicts himself in showing that her mother overwhelmed her, and that she lost the use of those powers for a while, and even forgot she had them.
Typical.
And there's a super boss that explains that she's nowhere near as skilled as her older sister.
Yep.
How is that a Mary Sue again?
Not.
Exactly. Arguably, she was nowhere near as skilled as her brother.
He's been misidentifying woke stuff up and down, and even defending woke stuff in some cases.
Wow.
Because he's an idiot. Its pattern recognition is off. It's complete coincidence that he's currently against the woke. Any other time he would be on the other side. Like if he had been born 5 years earlier, he would be one of the wokists.
Yeah.
I've compared him to Lily Orchid, where he doesn't pay attention to the story and then gets mad when it doesn't make sense. And then will believe his own bullshit he makes up and get angry about it.
And then Pip compared him to Anita Sarkeesian.
Sarkeesian knows what she's doing.
That's true.
He doesn't.
All right.
Back to
2 minutes.
Expedition 33. Renoir, the true antagonist, is villainized solely for his desire to return his family to reality. The canvas itself represents a form of magical transhumanist escape, offering an eternal life free of suffering, much like the premise of the video game Soma, but here with more whimsical veneer. Moreover, the game does attempt to disguise its Mary Sue protagonist trope by initially focusing on Gustave and later Verso, only to reveal that Maëlle or Alicia is the true central character, with godlike powers. The romance options within the game are also superficial, as the characters Lune and Skiel are mere figments of imagination, painted into existence, while Maëlle, the only real character, is unromanceable. This is an odd thematic choice that could be seen as a commentary on the artificial...
Hold on.
It's his sister! Alicia is Verso's sister!
Oh no. Oh
Dude!
no.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I
Alicia
wouldn't.
is Verso's sister.
This is like listening to Foucault. Lots of pseudo-intellectual babble with big words he doesn't understand himself.
I would not want Maëlle to be romanceable.
He wants to see more photosynthesis.
I would with either Gustave or Verso as the main male protagonist, I wouldn't want Maëlle to be romanceable in either of those situations.
Because you have a surrogate father and a literal brother.
Also, I've gotten to 9 for relationship for everybody. No one is romanceable.
Only CL is the closest one to that, and they're just having a fling.
Yeah, even at 9, they kind of just are like,
It's not gonna work out.
Yeah. Like, did you get to the max for your?
I got everyone to the max.
Yeah, no, I'm referring to Rusty here. Like, did you listen to all of the relationship dialogue as you progress through the game? Like,
probably not.
And it's a relationship as in just having friendship, relations, like that kind of relationship with one another.
Like, it's okay for people to just be friends and colleagues.
Yes. And, like, CL, sure, they have a fling every now and then, but CL still has her own issues to work through. Even if you were to, you know, stay in the fantasy world.
She grieves for 2.
Yes. But wow.
nature of digital intimacy. In other words, think OnlyFans girls or VTubers and not good old-fashioned flesh and blood human beings. Finally, I wanted to mention how incredibly forced the ending is. Again, it is disguised as meaningful player choice, perhaps meant to spark some further discussion as I talked about concerning Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced. But here's my question. Why did Verso fight with Alicia against Renoir if he also wanted to erase the canvas? Remember, this was Verso's goal all along. He wanted to end the canvas and escape his immortal existence. So why did he help Mael in the first place if his goal was to destroy everything? In the end, a more impactful ending would have been Mael confronted with reality, almost like exposure therapy. In fact,
You mean
because
what happens?
he also wants to force his father out of the canvas because remaining in the canvas is slowly killing him. He wants his family out of the canvas so they don't end up killing themselves. That is a spoiler. I do apologize, Wisp, but I kind of have to bring that
I
up
didn't
here.
listen for a second.
Okay,
But,
good.
Okay.
That's details I'll have forgotten by then. Because
Good.
these the
Okay.
thing is, these are all very realistic characters, and they do not strike me as distinct enough for me to even remember them, remember their names and their looks. Contrary to, for example, Final Fantasy VIII, where they're so hard. This is something that the Japanese do. They're very hard with color coding and shape and clothes that you can always distinguish between everybody from very far away because you only had a couple pixels to use to distinguish characters, and that's what stuck with them culturally in their game design philosophy.
Yeah.
And this is a new age, state of the art Western developer, and everybody looks to me because it's part of the autism. Humans truly look the same to a very, very high degree. I basically only see phenotypes. It takes forever for me to be able to not mix up people that are very close in phenotype to each other.
Yeah.
So I can men and women, that works. Then it starts getting difficult. If you just, I've had this at the comic shop. If somebody I know there turns up with a hat, and I don't see the hair, I have trouble figuring who is that. So the Clark Kent disguise might actually work on me.
There's actually a study that shows that when you're so used to seeing somebody wearing certain clothing, you won't recognize them without it.
Yep.
That too, but with people like me, that's enhanced, let's say.
I think
that's not as abnormal as you might think.
I think once you actually play the game and interact with the characters,
then it comes in, no problem.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I love all the characters. I love their flaws. I love that they're aware of their flaws and they have actual genuine flaws, not like this superficial kind of flaw. Like, oh, I'm just too quirky kind of flaw. No, they all have flaws. And to say that the game gives you no meaningful choice, it does. And it does not point you into either one of the options being good. It's just which one do you agree with more. But I don't see how he missed that. Like, it's pretty blatant throughout the entire story.
He's not very attentive. Remember what he when in the God of War channel on the Smart server, the first thing I posted in that we opened that channel just because of him and bringing this EFAP drama to us. And the first thing I posted in there was of this one professor interviewed who talked about the runes used in the God of War Norse nonsense, and that it's not words, it's just random runes. They don't mean anything in the game. They didn't put that effort in. So all these the detail work they put in there, not a
meaningless.
thought put in there. Yeah. And just as about everything else, it's just dressing. It's not Norse mythology. It's just nonsense, just like the runes in there. And that professor was otherwise very positive about the game. Oh, I like that they're trying a new approach. That's not a new approach. That's rewriting everything. That guy was a bored shill on the side of the WoW, and Rusty didn't react to that at all. At the end of the God of War channel, when before Rusty was leaving the server, a few weeks before that, he found this guy in the exact same video and posted it in that channel and gushed about that professor on how awesome he is, and mainly because he had this cowboy hat on. And he took every word he said as gospel, unquestioningly. And my counter arguments to that, and saying this is the first thing I posted in this channel, for fuck's sake, he ignored. As if maybe he had me on ignore, I don't know. But he completely ignored what I said. And he only liked this guy because of his hat. I'm not kidding you. Look it up.
What?
Yeah.
Yes. Only because of his hat. This professor was an authority to him. Rusty is literally the biggest idiot on the planet. He's dumb. This is dumber than DSP. DSP is too dumb to play video games, but Rusty is dumber in another way.
You said it was the very first thing posted in there?
The very first thing was when I posted that video. And the last thing, one of the last things that Rusty posted in that channel was that video as well. At least it was from the same professor.
My
interview.
God.
I'll have to find it later, but yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot in here. I'll go digging through it later.
Yeah. This guy's his lol cow level is beyond.
Yeah, it is. That's wild. All right, let's finish off the last 20 seconds of this video.
Let's rewrite everything. What would have been a really strong story is if this was about Gustav or Verso instead, having to relinquish a fantasy world where perhaps they fell in love with a woman they had painted and brought to life.
You mean what happens in the story, but for Mael? She's fallen in love with living inside the canvas.
Yeah.
That's his last words on the thing?
Apparently.
It's like he's ending mid-sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a good video, if you couldn't tell.
That's literally how the story actually is it's a story of a family, not just Mael. Mael's the one
Part
that
of it.
has to make the choice. But it is, at the end of the day, it's about the entire story, the entire family, and their grief and their trauma and how they overcome that trauma.
But
And
he's
it's-
going around saying how it's the trauma caused by the husband, by the father. But no, he's in trauma too. He's hurting too.
Yeah, I don't see how you can downplay the father's grief and pain in this whenever it's pretty blatant that everyone in the story is suffering. It's just to what degree are they suffering and how they deal with the suffering. Like I don't know.
That was frustrating, is a good way to put that.
But
And believe it or not, the comments are siding with him because he has a fan base of sycophants who never disagree with him.
Just as dumb. It's the same with Vosh. Vosh is more aware. He also knows what he's doing, but then while still being incompetent somewhat. But it's the same. It's exactly the same thing. It's just he is a con artist. He seems confident. Like, you listen to him, you listen to his voice, the way he speaks. It's all confidence.
Yep.
He reminds me of Brian Griffin.
Yeah, that's what makes people fall for him. They don't think, they feel. It's an emotional following.
Yep. But we're done. I think we've said everything that we need to say about Expedition 33. I enjoy it. I believe it is a 9 out of 10 game.
Absolutely.
It has its flaws, but it doesn't overshadow what is really good about the game. The Final Fantasy DNA is there. Ooh.
I do know a bit about some cut content for the game. One of the areas, the Dark Shores, was originally going to be quite a bit longer. In fact, you can actually see the path beyond a boat blocking it. And there are functioning parts of the game, even complete with an end of area portal that just doesn't lead anywhere. I understand. One of the areas called the Dark Shores has some cut content beyond a boat blocking a path. It's an unfinished area. I don't know if it was for time discrepancy or there were story plans for it. It's just there's a part of the area that goes unused that is navigable. There just isn't anything there and doesn't lead anywhere except a void you can't get out of without reloading.
That makes sense. There's cut content and everything. They couldn't finish certain parts, or it didn't work with the story that they were trying to tell, so they just cut it. That makes sense.
That's not a criticism. That's just pointing that out because that's some knowledge that I have.
But like, the game is good. The stories are fantastic. The gameplay is fun. The traversal and exploration of the environments are really, really nice. I recommend the game.
I kind of wish when you're in the overworld that you had a proper map, or you could set markers to go to on the map just to make navigation a bit easier.
Yeah, I get that, but
rather than just constantly checking the map every few seconds.
Especially if you're trying to figure out if you're going in the right direction or not, or if you overshot. Yeah, that's the one thing that I really don't like about the map, but other than that, the way that things are laid out and the what's it called? The landmarks that you can use to navigate around the world map help as well. Like if you spent your time in the world, in the overworld. But I think that is it for today, don't you?
Yeah, I believe so. We've said about everything that needs to be said.
All right. If you made it this far, please like, share, subscribe, blah blah blah. I don't know what else to say. Tuesday and Thursday are going to be Final Fantasy streams. Going to be Final Fantasy 8 for the 26th anniversary. If anybody that sees this wants to see that. Other than that, goodbye.